So hello everyone, my name is Jeremy and I'm one of the co-founders here at Nudge. We're a specialist financial wellbeing provider. So accelerated by COVID, wellbeing really is now a must-have offer for organizations to deliver for their people. And because money touches every part of our lives, a key part of that wellbeing strategy is financial wellbeing. And what we're seeing right now is the absolute leading edge of wellbeing and benefits is global financial wellbeing. And I'm absolutely delighted today to be joined by Alison Hanlan to talk about that very subject. So, hi Alison, maybe you can just intro yourself and the ACCA, please.
Absolutely. Happy to join you for the conversation, Jeremy, but I am Alison Hanlan, the Global Head of Reward and Resourcing at ACCA. We're a global accountancy body. We have about 1,400 employees across 44 countries. And in my role, I cover organisational design, compensation, benefits, resourcing and payroll for all those 44 countries.
Fabulous. Well, you're a very busy lady, which makes me even more honoured that you're joining us today. So thank you. So going into the programme, maybe you can give us a bit of context and background of what you were already delivering for your UK people before you decided to look at global.
Absolutely. So we, about 4 years ago, decided to take quite a holistic view to employee wellbeing, and we created a role within the wellbeing team to look after wellbeing, and it brought together a programme which covered 4 pillars of wellbeing. So that was our emotional wellbeing, physical wellbeing, our community or social wellbeing, and that 4th pillar was financial wellbeing. And back 4 years ago, we decided to start rolling out that programme in the UK, always with a view to do something globally, but with that UK population first. Right from the outset, we worked in partnership with Nudge. So one of my old team members, Stephen Doyle, he introduced Nudge to ACCA, and we started to develop that kind of relationship. So our UK employees have had the Nudge solution in place for 4 years, and it's a very well used product within our organisation. We utilise the data, and it was really important for us when we started to think globally that we were able to use the same kind of consistent approach.
Absolutely. And were there any kind of really key reasons why your attention moved to global when it did?
Yeah, I think that's a good point. So we always envisaged that we would move our kind of the wellbeing approach globally. It was always something that was on the agenda. I think what accelerated that was that the COVID-19 pandemic. So we had already started to build in some in our other areas of wellbeing. So we had a global EAP in place, we have global private medical. We'd started to then think about, well, how do we then extend things like our financial wellbeing globally? And then the crisis hit, and our employees themselves actually globally started to ask us, could you provide support? What can you do to help? Not our own employees, but their families and other people around them were really feeling the effects financially of the COVID-19 pandemic. And therefore we thought this is the opportunity, I think, to take to kind of widen out that financial wellbeing pillar and ensure that all of our employees globally can benefit from wellbeing support.
Yeah, I think that really resonates with me, the fact that COVID seems to have accelerated this conversation, that before wellbeing was always important, but maybe it was quite siloed within HR, whereas it feels like if there's any silver lining to come out of COVID, it's that wellbeing has greater visibility and more importance and maybe more budget within organizations.
I definitely think it's a conversation that's now had across our whole business. It's not something that's just a kind of people-led conversation. It's everybody in the organisation is thinking about well-being in its full extent. So that is a kind of positive that was taken from this. It was really pushed on to make sure that that's something that over the longer term we can really capitalise on it and make sure that actually we're providing a holistic wellbeing approach now across all of our 4 pillars of wellbeing for our employees globally.
Yeah, perfect. And I guess, when you say investing in your people's financial well-being. What does that mean to you and the ACCA over the longer term?
Yeah, so I think for us, it's really about giving individuals the tools to make informed decisions. So, it's key to us that we have and are working with yourself to create that education around financial well-being, and that should be something that we can do in a consistent global manner using the kind of the technology that we have to offer that to our employees globally, but that actually there's personalisation in there, and that employees can go in and learn more about what that means for them as individuals and take control of their kind of finances in that regard. And I think one of the key things for us as well is the way that it integrates with other things like your mental well-being, and making sure people their financial well-being isn't having an impact negatively on their own mental well-being and emotional well-being. And also from a kind of diversity and inclusion perspective, it's really important for us within ACCA that we have these open conversations, that we give people the tools to really think about what that means for them in terms of their own financial package, and what they should be doing with things moving forward, because of whether they're women, maybe taking some time off for maternity leave, what does that mean for them in their long-term retirement funds? What do they need to do differently? And that's very personalised. So it's an offer to make sure that people have the tools that allow them themselves to get educated around what they need to do to support their own financial well-being going forward.
Yeah, I think that's spot on. And I just had a thought there when you were speaking around well-being pillars, where actually it's really more like a Venn diagram, isn't it? Because your mental health is impacted by your finances, as are your physical health. And so, yeah, it's like that Venn diagram, isn't it? That your well-being strategy all have to live together and help each other breathe, which I think is really important. And one of the things that I know you're really passionate about is around diversity and inclusion. And I think that was another key driver for you, wasn't it?
It absolutely was. I mean, I think we've seen the impacts of COVID had across different demographics and different parts of our society. It's been uneven, and certainly from a financial perspective, there's been a lot of research done that shows that certain groups in our society have been impacted more than others throughout the COVID pandemic. And again, this is around providing that kind of financial well-being and education that allows our employees to think about, how has that impacted me, and what can I then do about some of these things? So you're absolutely right, Jeremy, that there's a key integration between all of these things, and it's about it's partly working with Nudge. What's really good about that is that people can see it from their own perspective and start to make some choices based on the education that they have about how their own financial well-being is being impacted.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, some statistics for you. So people with disabilities have been 7 times more likely to use food banks. Women have, well, before the pandemic, there was already a gender pay gap globally. There's now also a gender debt gap as well. And also ethnic minorities have really struggled. So for example, in the US, people from a Hispanic background, nearly 80% have reported having financial difficulties during COVID, versus less than 30% of white people. So if an organisation is really important, or it's really important to an organisation rather, to tackle the diversity and inclusion challenge, then a financial wellbeing program is a great way to really dig in and help your diverse workforce. Great. So just very, very quick introduction to Nudge for those people who don't know us. So as I've already mentioned, we're a financial wellbeing specialist, and we believe that the beating heart of financial wellbeing is giving your people skills and knowledge to make brilliant decisions, both on the things that you offer them in the workplace, so their retirement plans, their benefits, their pay, their stock plans, but also importantly, stuff outside of work that really impacts them and will stop them bringing their best self to work, things like their housing and their families and insurance and investing, their retirement, and so on and so forth. And we believe that where people have those skills and knowledge, that it gives them more confidence and control, which is where that wonderful state of financial well-being comes from. And ultimately, if you're interested in financial well-being that's ethical, that's tech-enabled, that's global, we'd love to have a conversation with you. So the next innovation I wanted to talk to you about today is around the mental wealth first aider. So lots of our listeners will have heard of mental health first aider, and it's a new innovation that we've created, which is CPD accredited, and which you've really been helping us to form, and we're incredibly grateful. So can you talk to us about your experience of mental wealth first aiders and your people at ACCA?
Absolutely. So I think, we, from the outset, 4 years ago, we did accredit a number of our employees in mental health first aid, and we knew that that was an important thing to do. We have about 38 mental health first aiders across our organisation at present, and they cover all of our locations globally. So we have them, it's a global population who've been trained. They recently went through refresher training for mental health. And on the back of that, we also asked all 38 to go through the mental wealth first aiding, which Nudge had just rolled out. And I think for us, this was really important because opening up conversations around financial well-being, feeling that our mental health first aiders could have those conversations and felt comfortable having those conversations with people was really important. And we talked earlier, Jeremy, about the intertwining of both of these areas and kind of overall well-being. It is really about having conversations around all of these things. So if somebody's financial situation is difficult, that really has an impact on their overall mental health. And so we have now a pool of 38 trained employees who cover both mental health and mental wealth first aid. And it's been something that's been really, really positively embraced by our champions within the organisation. And I think it's something that will help us in the next stage open up wider conversations across the employee base.
That's awesome, thank you. And here are some of the results. So I think we're about 6 months in, aren't we, to the programme, and we've launched in 44 countries. We've just spoken about the mental health first aiders who got that mental wealth accreditation, and so far 77% of your population globally have engaged with the programme. So yeah, what's your view on this?
It really is. I mean, I think that we're very encouraged by the figures that we can see in front of us. It's definitely been a very positive start. The first 6 months have seen really great engagement across our global population. I think for us going forward, and I know we've spoken before about this, Jeremy, the next stage for us is to think about the data that we're gathering from our employees and how then to take it to the next step. So how do we help and encourage our employees even further to think about their financial well-being and some of the things that are open to them in terms of the benefits that we offer more widely within the ACCA. So I think, it's a great starting point for us. We're really, really encouraged by the engagement with our employees, and we're really looking forward to the next step in the programme.
Definitely, and it's almost like, engagement's almost like a hygiene factor, isn't it? And really what we're looking for here is the so what. So are people paying more into their retirement funds? Are they more likely to build up an emergency savings buffer? Are they utilising benefits more? As well as those more subjective things like, do they feel more confident and in control? So I think that really that's our mission, isn't it, for the next step in the programme, is to really have a look at those more measurable outcomes.
Absolutely. And I think that's one of the things that's really important for us, is we can do that on a global basis. So globally consistent data and bringing that in and looking at it from a kind of holistic point of view. So one of the key reasons why, it's been so great working with Nudge.
Yeah, amazing. Thanks so much. And yeah, I guess, I'm always impressed with ACCA, how innovative you are as an organisation, and you do things properly, which is fantastic. And I think that these quotes here from your people really say a lot about your organisation and how highly engaged your people are. So I think that is definitely worthy of a massive pat on the back of the reward team. And then, yeah, I guess all that leaves me to say is thanks so much. I know you're a very busy lady, and really appreciate you taking the time to speak with me today. For those of you who are out there who are interested to learn more about global financial wellbeing, then our door is always open. Please do contact me personally or contact us, and we'd be delighted to have a conversation. So yeah, thanks so much, Alison.
Perfect. Thank you, Jeremy.